What is up, guys, and welcome back to Courtside Convo. Today, we're talking about 5 players that can steal you a win this week. Talking about this is kind of like the championship week. In my leagues, it's championship week. In some leagues, I've seen that it's potentially, next week. Whatever it might be, we're going to be talking about 5 players that, for the rest of the season, honestly, will be players that can steal you the win for the week. Very excited to talk about this, and without that, let's get started with Jock Landale. So with Jock Landale, you might be asking, well, what's really the things with him? And there's kind of a few. We look at his Yahoo percentage, not really a very rostered guy. 2.4 in ESPN. I think something with ESPN is I think bigger leagues really hurt that for ESPN. And granted, if you're in a bigger league, you're probably not looking at Jock Landale right now. But for ESPN, 2.4%, easily pick up. Yahoo's probably where you're going to be looking at what is really looking good for the roster percentage. Yahoo, 21%. But here's why. No center depth. If you look at the Houston Rockets, their centers are really Sengun. It's honestly Steven Adams, and he's on IR. And right now they're trying to play Jabari Smith at the 5, and let me tell you, that has not worked. But with Alperen Sengun's injury, Jock Landale has gotten some minutes, gained some minutes more. He's probably been averaging around, I want to say 25-ish. Not horrible minutes, but, not amazing as in the 30 minutes. But if we look at some stat lines during this injury, 10.7 blocks and 3 assists for Jock Landale is insane to see. And then if we look at some ones that are even recent, 17 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, which is something that you see from like an all-star level player. 17 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 100 field goal percentage. That was really the latest game when I am recording this. So if we're looking at this for Jock Landale, obviously this is somebody that is going to be able to provide well. I know I was lucky enough to pick him up in my points leagues, and he has been somebody that I've been able to play a lot and been able to really use because of the big depth I have for my fantasy league. But I think if you're looking at anybody else for a potential spot for a center that is going to provide you with good minutes and provide you with good stats all around, and I'm telling you this now, his blocks per game is excellent. I mean, he got 7, a career high at one point. His career high was 4. And he's somebody that is gaining minutes and minutes. He's going to be someone that you should be looking at to pick up. Up next is Dalano Banton. And this might be a shocking one for you. But with how he's been playing, I'll tell you about a stat in a second when we look at his stats that I heard that I thought was outrageous. And I was like, come on. But he's been playing well. Looking at his pickup rate, 37% from Yahoo, makes sense. All of these are decreasing though, which I'm guessing they're going to increase after today because there was a game last night that he did excellent in. Well, we'll see why. Portland has had many injuries. I mean, we look at Scoot Henderson, Shannon Sharp, Anthony Simons. Granted, some of them actually played in last night's game, and Banton still played very well, but he's been somebody that has played with all the injuries, gotten the minutes. He's still somebody that I think is excellent. But the thing that I think is going to be really helping Banton, helping you in league, is he's an all-around player. A tall guard, somebody that is the point guard position. And we look at what he is doing. 30 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. 25 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. 28 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. 28 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. And this is all in the month of March. Granted, these are his better games than his worst games. But this is somebody that's also getting these minutes in like 25 minutes. And the stat I wanted to talk about was that looking at per 36 numbers, players that are averaging a triple-double with per 36 is Jokic, Luka, and Dalano Banton. I heard that during the Thunder game. Isn't that insane? But what's also helping him is he's about averaging a block and a steal. I think it's 0.9 for a block, 0.8-ish for a steal. So I just say 1-1. Can't hate me for that. If this is somebody that is still on your waiver wire, and if you're trying to get somebody that is a sneaky good player to win, I pick him up. I would truthfully pick him up with Shadon Sharp being out for the rest of the season, with Simons in and out, Scoot in and out. Not really much guards after that. That's going to be playing lots of minutes. And he's somebody that was just a 6-man the guy that was the bench player last game and got 28, 11, and 5. So pick him up, please, and I think you'll be very happy with it. Next up, we have Miles McBride, and this is probably going to be an interesting one. You might not believe me when I say Miles McBride is such an excellent player, but maybe the stats don't show it as much, but I promise you the minutes do. Yahoo 3%, ESPN 4.3%, starting to get Dibs trust, which is you gotta love seeing a player. He's played a game the whole time for 48 minutes. The only other player to do that this season is Josh Hart, and it was recently. So Tibbs, with all the injuries with Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, he's starting to give some of his players higher minutes, which, it's kind of crazy because Miles McBride is the guard, and he's playing with Jalen Brunson during this time. So when you're having Miles McBride starting with Jalen Brunson, and there's not really another guard that's kind of hurting you, clearly there's some trust there. 45.5 minutes per game. 45.5 minutes per game. Per 36 is kind of crazy sometimes, people think about, because not really a player's averaging 36 minutes. Plus 10 on his averages. If a player is getting 45.5 minutes per game, you have to pick him up in fantasy, because the fact is that maybe in real life playing all those minutes is not amazing, but in fantasy perspective, having a player playing 45.5 minutes per game is something that you want every night, because that's a player that's going to maybe miss some shots, but is going to be able to regain those points. And he's been somebody that has been able to do it. 20 points per game, 3 assists per game, 3 rebounds per game. The only thing bad is probably his fouls, which is not a fantasy aspect type of scoring ability, unless you're in a 11 cat league. Something crazy like that. 4 fouls per game. That's it. Or, it's not even 4, it's 3-ish. And this is in the 4 games that he's been starting, and he's going to continue to start. Miles McBride is an automatic pickup for me, and that's somebody that is going to be excellent. Up next is Trayce Jackson-Davis. Another player that has really bumped up his role this season, and I think when we talk more dynasty later on in life, look at the podcast, he's going to be someone that I am looking to grab and pick up in leagues. 47% from Yahoo. People already know about Trayce Jackson-Davis. ESPN 13%. Starting to play over 25 minutes per game, which is very good, and I think it's because he's taking the role of Kevon Looney. Kevon Looney was their starting center, was a guy that was in a rotation a lot, and I think Trayce Jackson-Davis, with the youth, with the ability to shot block, with the ability to be just more athletic, you got to take on Trayce Jackson-Davis. Trayce Jackson-Davis. Why did I... But where does he thrive? And it's the blocks per game. When you're looking at his stats during the month of March, I think it's 1.8, 1.9 blocks per game. Isn't that insane? Just in the month of March. And we're not... these are also with games that he's getting 12 minutes in. There's not really much games that he's also getting 30-plus minutes in. We're looking at games that he's averaging less than probably a 6-man's averaging. And he's getting 2 blocks per game. And another thing for him is his field goal percentage. I think in the month of March, again, talking about that, I think it's 77%, which is insane. Insane. I really want to know who's number 1. I think it was Daniel Gafford for a while, and I think he's at only 70-something. So in the month of March, he's gained the number 1 field goal percentage. Granted, that is just 1 month. But he's somebody that is ability to pick and roll, be able to hand off passes to somebody like Steph Curry. He can get some assists. I really think in the future, we're looking at the future Draymond, because he just reminds me so much of the 6'9" power forward that is Draymond, doing pick and roll offense to pass off and be able to pass. And with Draymond there, the future's bright for him, in my opinion. I said during the draft process that they should pick him at 19, and they got him at 57. So if that doesn't show you that this kid was a steal from, and I say this kid like he's not older than me, this guy was a steal, I don't know what is. Up next we have Richaun Holmes, and this is going to be my last. Richaun Holmes, 20% from Yahoo, 3.6 on ESPN. And there's a lot of factors that are really kind of setting in for them to potentially be, this good for Richaun Holmes. There's no true center really on the Wizards. We look at their center depth. They just signed Tristan Vucevic. And I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. I think it's Vukovic. Something like that. drafted him in the draft process, and then kind of he played overseas. Now he's officially with the Wizards. Marvin Bagley III is somebody that has been their power forward. Used to have Daniel Gafford. Now he's on the Mavericks. But when we look at Richaun Holmes, when he's been on the Wizards, when he's averaging 27 minutes per game, and granted, it's going up. We're looking at 13 points per game, 14 rebounds per game, 1.3 blocks per game, 57 field goal percentage, which is insanity. His rebounds per game for the last 3 games have been probably about 15 rebounds per game, and his points have been even higher. And I actually think his blocks per game has been higher too. I don't know about field goal, but I know that it's been very excellent. So for Richaun Holmes, when you're looking at center depth and you're needing someone that is going to maybe steal the rebound category or be able to steal the blocks or be able to steal maybe field goal, Richaun Holmes is somebody I'm picking up immediately because he's going to be someone that helps out with, the all-around play. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy. If you want some more content, check me out on Lesser Athletes. If you want some more content on the channel, check out the podcast, Fantasy Fundamentals. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.